Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming, guys. Today we're going to talk about effect of environmental CSR on public's perception. This was really came out of my curiosity. It is the research question of this particular research piece. So, without further ado, we're going to be going over the introduction, why, the rationale of this study, and then research frameworks, and then method, results, and discussions. So, well, I guess do I have to explain what CSR is? Yes? Okay. So CSR, there's really no universal definition of CSR, because I brought it one of the more broad CSR definition out here, but the thing is, CSR really is different from when this takes place and who's doing it based on the objective of the corporation that they're doing the CSR for. So there's no universal definition. But this one, I think, in my perspective, this one comes close to that. So in other words, CSR could be referred as corporate citizenship. I brought this word here because it's more easy to understand that concept with this corporate citizenship approach. So corporate citizenship meaning the corporations should act as if they are decent citizens of the society, right? So in that sense, you need to behave, as if you are a good citizen. So you don't throw things away on the streets. You take care of yourself, or look after yourself if you're done something. So that's what it really means. And corporate citizenship, or CSR, really came in in the 50s. At 1950s, it really first started researching CSR, and then it went on and it expanded in the 60s and 70s. It really took up, and then importance of CSR is really there's public pressure on those corporations to behave in a better way as a corporate citizen of the world. And then that led to a lot of CSR activities, and in turn, it led to a more of a cause-related marketing approaches, where you are marketing for better goods with better causes. Okay. So significant research have been done on CSR's effect on business performance. If you do engage in CSR, if you become a better citizen of this world, your business would boom, right? Because people recognize that. And then your competitiveness would also get better. And then brand evaluation, how people sees you as a brand, would become better. And then at the end, it would change people's perception or purchase intention. It would sell. If you engage in corporate social responsibilities, then it would sell more. So there's tons of research that's been done on corporate social responsibility and its effectiveness on consumer behavior. But corporate CSR does fail. Why does it fail? Because, well, when the means behind the CSR gets discovered, let's say motives are profit-oriented. You're doing this just to sell products. Or you're not altruistic. And then if that's discovered, and then people recognize you as a not CSR-like, if you're pretending that you're doing CSR, then it would take negative toll on your business at all, at the end. Okay. How about sports? Sports is unique. It's not unlike Fortune 500 companies. We're not really out there with those Fortune 500, the volume of sales or the revenues that we bring in or the engagement in the CSR is not as big as all these other companies, but we are in a unique space where we do have better relationship, more of a emotional relationship to the consumers. So there are a lot of, most of the entities, sport entities, engage in CSR because of their integrative characteristics, relations to the community, relations to the youth, media exposures. So most of the first CSR activity that I could remember is back in the 80s when NBA brought in the Stay in School initiative, right? If you want to be cool, stay in school. Some of you are nodding, which tells your age in a way. But again, that's education purposes. CSR is not just green initiative or anything else, but it could be anything. That's why in the beginning I mentioned that CSR is really hard to define in a way. There's a lot of organizations, NHL, not just NASCAR, but a lot of these entities engage in green initiatives, and then health initiatives. And we are all aware of the Play 60 initiative from NFL, where we are teaching kids to act, be active, and so on. So there's that. And then there's a lot of athletes, because of their stature as a professional athlete, they do engage in their personal venture of engaging in CSR, or socially responsible acts. So planting trees. Usain Bolt is involved with the Animal Rights Foundation. Some of the Winter Olympians they talk about climate changes and whatnot. So there's that uniqueness of characteristics of star power, media exposures, public attention, and then they do engage in corporate social responsibility behaviors. But here we're talking about NASCAR. And do we have any NASCAR fans in a room in this? Yeah, it was hard to find these fans out here on the Northwest. So we're talking about NASCAR. And NASCAR is a unique entity in a way, because if you look at NASCAR, we think of something like this. So what do? Well, don't get me wrong, I've been to one of those races and it's awesome. You know, those cars, engine noises, and then the car comes close to you. It's just the roar, it just excites you, like, you know, it just puts you in a frenzy, right? But again, this also causes issues. What do? Well, they use fuel, right? Then they burn coal energy, and then they burn tires. Those races that they do engage, and then on top of that, there's like pre-races, and you know, all those things happen. And then carbon prints that they leave behind. That's just tons. But NASCAR, in terms of NASCAR's CSR activity, they are very interesting. It is what got me curious about how it would react, how would people react to their messages, which is this. So they're using two different approaches. One, nationalistic approach, and two, green initiatives. So you could ask, hey, nationalism is an CSR activity? And yes, it is. Like I said, it's really hard to define where we can draw the line, but if you be a little more patient, we could get to that. So they are using two different initiatives to attract these fans and influence them. And let's talk about green marketing first. So one of the approaches that the green initiative really came from green marketing. The Earth Day, taking care of the Earth, and then for the future generations, the Earth Day came in, and then concern for natural environment became a big thing. And then it started in the 70s. And then I mentioned before that CSR really formed in the 50s, and then through the 60s and 70s, it's gotten stronger, and then it's more prominent after 70s. So that's where the Green Initiative is more of what we know of as CSR of today. All right? Green marketing, what happens? Green marketing minimizes companies' negative impact on environment, and then known to be very effective and largely influenced by the company's stakeholders. And we are going to get to the stakeholders. But the downside is there's always the risk of the greenwashing. Greenwashing means that you pretend, like the Pinocchio down there, you pretend to be green when you're not really green, right? So I brought a little sample, and I don't know if you would remember this one, but
Whoever said that's so impossible? Well, that's not supposed to go there.
Isn't that nice? How many of you remember this bag? Yes? What was wrong with it? It's loud. Yes. And then it was really, really loud. The bag biodegrades, and it's just perfect because who recycles these plastic bags, right? They just, and John Wong obviously does recycle, and he's the all for the future generation. But for some of us, we don't really, throw these things away. So, but if it's biodegradable, it's perfect, right? Even if you throw this away, this will just go away, right? But again, because of this crickling noise that the bag made, the sales actually kind of took a hit, and then it kind of dropped in sales. And then you know what happened? After 1 year, they took this bag off their shelves, which means, well, they try to be green, but when it hurt their sales, they just went back to their old plastic bag that doesn't biodegrade. So and then it took a lot of hit from the media, and then they brought it back after a couple years back. I think in 2014 they brought it back, but, well, it was too late. They had that reputation of greenwashing by then. So the reason I'm talking about this greenwashing effect is that, well, NASCAR, if you think about them, they're burning fuel, they're burning tires, they're leaving footprints, and then they're saying they're green. It's like, could be the classic case of greenwashing in a way. Okay, so let's talk about nationalism, the American flag, right? So nationalism also could be a CSR initiative. After the 9/11 in the United States, the nationalistic approach in CSR took off, and then it promotes bond, aligned interest, and motivates positive citizenship. Come together as a group, but also it promotes, separations and contempt of others and aggressions, and there's a negativity. But it also emerges when at risk, right? So NFL with their salute to the service, it's part of nationalistic initiative to CSR. And I don't know if you guys remember this, the Protect This House from Under Armour. Proud to be American, honor stripes and stars and stripes. All that is what you call a nationalistic initiative. And more recent, very successful nationalistic initiative was this, right? Make America Great Again. That's very nationalistic, and that was one of the nationalistic marketing, nationalism as a marketing vehicle for President Trump. Okay, so there's two theoretical framework that I was using. So stakeholder theory. So if you took Dr. Wong's class, then you extensively discuss what this is. But simply put, this is really about if you run a business, and then when you do run a business, you need to think about bringing benefits to all the stakeholders in order to be successful. It's not just the bosses or your financiaries, but everyone involved need to get benefit out of the running a business. And with this, I added one other section, which is potential stakeholders, not just the current consumers, but potential consumers. And then this is the population that we are dealing with today. And then there's the framework of RADP, which is reactive, defensive, accommodative, proactive in dealing with social causes. So there are some people who do not believe in global warming, right? And then they're the ones in a reactive state. They deny everything. They believe that's global warming doesn't exist, and there's no needs for social causes and whatnot. And then there's a defense, people in defense stage where they put up a fight, but they do a little bit, but again, at the end, they are not believing in it. And then there's accommodative ones. They accept the social responsibility when asked. And then there's the proactive ones. They're the ones who go out of their limb, and then they would engage in pro-social behaviors without being asked, right? So there's that. So with this framework, we asked, where do participants see NASCAR organization in the spectrum of RADP? Okay, so my research question is like this. We wanted to investigate how potential stakeholders perceive the way in which sport organizations communicate their CSR effort with either nationalistic or environmental. And then examine whether environmental or nationalistic communication was which one was more effective. Okay, so we recruited 266 non-NASCAR fans. Well, to tell the truth, when I started off with this research topic, I wanted to comparison between the fans and non-fans. But fact of the matter was that we couldn't get those NASCAR fans in this area, so we had to went ahead with the non-fans. And among 266, we were able to use 135 who showed up to the both experiments, and then the male to female is that way, and then average age was, of course, it was college students, and then most of them were Caucasian. So it was a quasi-experimental study, and then we did the before and after comparison. There was 2 weeks gap between the first set of experiment and then second set of experiment, and then stimuli was delivered on the second experiment. And then here are some of the measurement that we used, and then this deemed to be very sound items that we utilized for the study. Okay, so there's this, I'm gonna show you what the stimuli were. So first one I'm gonna show you is the NASCAR Green Initiative.
In a race, winning is about having a smart plan and executing it flawlessly. In a race to help the environment, it's the same. And that's what NASCAR Green is all about. Bringing together the entire NASCAR community to put sustainability and responsibility at the forefront of the sport with new leading technologies. It's made NASCAR the #1 recycler in all of sports. It's inspired the NASCAR Green Clean Air program that plants 10 trees in local communities for every green flag that drops at every race. It's led us to make the bold choice to run on a 15% ethanol blend fuel, Sunoco Green E15. It's driven us to build and work in more energy-efficient buildings. It's changed the way NASCAR transports equipment, even how it provides energy to events on into the future.
The Pocono Raceway just broke ground on what will become the largest solar farm at any sports facility in the world. What used to be a parking lot will generate enough electricity for the racetrack and twice that much for the region.
But NASCAR also understands that this is truly a race with no finish line. So they're investing in new technologies, new programs, working with new and existing partners to put the environment at the forefront of every aspect of the sport.
NASCAR is about a lot more than just racing cars. It's as much about what you get back off the track as you get on the track. It's about what you're doing to protect our environment and help America become energy independent, using solar energy, working to offset carbon emissions, and even hiring a director of green innovation to take your commitment to the next level.
NASCAR looks back on a successful 2011 season. As they look ahead to 2012 and beyond, let's always remind ourselves that taking a good turn for our environment is one of the most important races we can win.
So that was the NASCAR Green Initiative, and then this was shown right before the second experiment. And then this is the Green Nationalistic Initiative.
As the leader in American motorsports, NASCAR takes its responsibility in making the right choices very seriously. And you can't make a choice without making a change. American ethanol, which is produced from corn grown across our country, and made right here in the USA. Growth Energy, the newest partner in the NASCAR family, is a leader in promoting and fulfilling the promise of American ethanol, a renewable source of cleaner burning energy from the bounty of America's farmers. American ethanol also helps create new green jobs and a renewed sense of pride for the American worker, while helping achieve greater energy independence for our country.
Being part of that whole process as a corn grower from South Dakota gives me great feeling that I am having an impact and having a positive impact, not only on the United States of America, but in the world of climate as a whole.
So as you can see, for the second nationalistic approach, they were showing a lot more flags, a lot more American, and American. So this is more of a nationalistic approach in communicating with potential consumers. Okay, so these are just some of the psychometric properties of the measures, so that deemed a pretty good fit to the model. So we use the mimic model, which is the I want to say advanced form of the ANOVA analysis, where you're putting environmental approach and as a dummy variable, and then we're looking at the endogenous variables loadings here. So we could see that with the environmental approach, we see that most the loadings show that there was positive influence on attitude, reputation of the company, and identification to the sport, and then their CSR activity. And then you can see that they recognize CSR as more of a more positive CSR influence. And then we looked into a nationalistic approach with the same analysis, and we found out that there were not significant in any path, even though this shows a pretty higher loading, but it turned out to be insignificant. Okay. And then we looked into the RADP scale and then saw a drastic change, even though in a prior analysis, the miming models show that the nationalistic approach wasn't very effective, but the second research where they recognized NASCAR and what state of RADP scale. And then you can see that with the environmental approach, see, there was no one really thought that NASCAR was progressive, but after they saw that there's 40% growth in the recognition of their environmental approach as CSR, and they were looked at as a progressive entity in a RADP scale. One other interesting thing is nationalistic approach, which didn't really show that it was very effective, but how they recognized the company being proactive is that it took a little bit of a change there, which was significant change brought in as a nationalistic approach as well. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, effect of CSR. It is a powerful source of corporate reputation building. Just by showing people that they're doing something, affected their recognition of NASCAR being a socially responsible company. And also, the nationalistic approach perceived as non-altruistic motive, whereas Green Initiative seen as more altruistic motive. And well, we cannot really say the last point here because we have not tested the intention to purchase or intention to go to these games or events, so that one maybe not relevant here. So managerial implications. So depending on, so in sport marketing, we talk about STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So, and I've looked all over the place, but we couldn't really find a piece that really explains how STP strategy need to be worked on. But this clearly shows that if you are targeting people in Northwest with NASCAR product, then you better go with natural initiative, not nationalistic initiative. So positioning the organization in consumers' mind becomes very important in this case. Market expansion, same note. If you're trying to expand the market to the Northwest, then something related to green might work better than nationalistic approach. And the last bullet here is the key point, and I would like to have a little short discussion with you guys on this. What do you guys think? Any publicity is good publicity, even though negative ones? What do you guys think? Any publicity is good publicity. Agree with that?
It's working in politics.
Working in politics. Riley here is, nah, it's not. Oh, yes?
Well, you just said it didn't work for Sun Chips.
Oh, it didn't work for Sun Chips. But it's, in my perspective, any publicity is good publicity in a way, because even though negative publicity, they put you in an odd spot, but in a spotlight. And also, negative publicity will give you a chance to fight it back, right? So it's not the negative publicity that's going to hurt you. It is going to hurt you, but how you deal with the situation, and it's giving you a chance to do better with the situation. So in this particular case, NASCAR is not environmentally friendly sport. Never going to be. Even though they're blending corn oil to the fuel, and they're recycling, and they're doing this and that, but it doesn't matter, because there are some parts of the world they're going starving, and we're enjoying burning corn. How'd that make sense, right? In a way. So, but again, the green initiative for NASCAR is a big initiative, and then they are moving forward with this because of that. Being recognized as a negative entity for the world or nature, but they're fighting back with whatever they could do to put themselves in a better spot. And then this particular research proves that even though you're you're negatively influencing the world, but because you're doing certain things, they look at you in a proactive, look at your entity as a proactive entity who deals with the corporate social responsibility. Okay, so, yep, it's the same slide. So, future research. I would like to expand this research with the wider range of populations. So we did this in a Northwest out here, and maybe if we do it with the primary stakeholder group, maybe people in the South, this result might vary. Okay? And then maybe how about other entities with the initiatives? So there's the Place 60 with NFL, and then there's the Salute to the Service initiative. So how would that make an impact? That might be the future research that I might pursue. Okay, I think that brings us to thank you. All right. I think I'm right on time.
Quite some time for questions, so go ahead and do not be afraid to ask it. I guess I will start. I'm curious. Did you measure how permanent were these changes, or I guess and I might have missed it because I was just busy texting regarding ESPN, I admit that. But I'm curious, what was the research design? And so I'm curious whether, again, I guess what I'm asking is how permanent were the changes in perception?
Oh, so we were not able to go that far with the research because it was the before and after research, and then it would be nice to have a chance to do get another set of round where how much does it linger, right? I think that's what you're asking, yeah. But we missed that part, and then that could be our limitation in this particular study. So we could have done it, but it was if you look at the drop rate, we recruited 230, and then it came down to 130 at the end. So if we have done it for a third time, it could have gone down to like 70, which really we won't be able to say that it was meaningful results in a way. So yes,
Two questions.
yes.
First, can you comment, do you know, the reasons behind NASCAR putting these two initiatives out? It seems to me that, because your experiments in Northwest, you would probably get a different result if you go to a traditional NASCAR country.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that I don't know if that's the case, if NASCAR is thinking about expanding the market, and so the nationalistic approach would be more palatable to the
original
hardcore NASCAR fans, and whereas the green initiatives would be people who are not previously a NASCAR fan, such as the. So that's the first question. The second question is, will you mark off Dr. Leachin because he's texting him while you're?
Well, he would be booted out of my class, but it's okay. Okay, so let me answer the first question. I think the NASCAR, the nationalistic approach, is for the people who are already fans of their sport. And then, like I said, is the question I asked at the end was, is the negative any publicity gets publicity. So I think they're fighting the negative perception of NASCAR head on. Saying that, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're blending oil, we are the biggest recycler in the history of sport, and and we were sun and all that good stuff. They're just putting it in front of them to fight the negativity toward their organization. So I think that's the initiative they're trying to do. And then what I saw was, this is negative publicity, good publicity. They were given a chance to explain themselves in a way, and then they did it head on. And then with the result that we got from this small study is that it works. Does that answer your question, sir?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, Robert.
I'm reading and as I'm listening, and I inject myself because I'm not a NASCAR fan.
Yes, yes.
But I'm not a NASCAR fan because I don't think they're not green.
Yeah.
I'm not a NASCAR fan because I think it's boring. And I don't know what you got from the experiment or people that you interacted with, but especially in the Northwest, even if the perception changes where NASCAR is green or, would that really influence people to be fans of NASCAR?
Well,
Or the fact that, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the intrinsic value of them being a fan is not whether NASCAR is green or not. They could be thinking of NASCAR as being something else.
so again, I cannot just answer these questions without any numbers, but we do have numbers here, which environmental approach actually influence their intention to, like the game more, like the event more, which is identification in this case. So, in a way, I get that because you're not follower of NASCAR because it's not green, but it's boring. So for you, this won't matter. Right? Unless you go to the site and then you really experience it or if you're in the car, that might change things a little bit. But for this, results suggest that environmental approach does influence people's intention to go to these games or their intention to visit the stadium. So I'll say for some people, it actually influences them to go or like. Yes?
I just wonder, thinking about that also, that maybe it was a marketing strategy, and obviously this is beyond your data, but it goes back with, but there might be another explanation in there, that they're worried about not losing the fans they have.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially if you look at just superficial level, and if you're a NASCAR fan, and I say, oh, I don't know how you can support that, it's just in the face of environmentalism. Now you can say, no, they have all this green effort going on.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't need to interrogate it, and I think we have a country that doesn't interrogate claims. So if there's a claim that's out there,
I think you're absolutely right, because the NASCAR initiative, the green initiative, is actually liked by, so it's not that, so for here, nationalistic approach was not liked. But for the prior research, it suggests that environmentally green initiative actually worked better on the countryside where NASCAR is being liked. So they value this NASCAR green initiatives more than people out here. I think you're right on the.
So it's a superficial response, and it's still a response, and that might satisfy a lot.
Yeah. And then they have some sort of a defense mechanism for their own fans right now. Like, hey, man, you're the sport that you like ruins this world, and then, hey, you know what? We're doing this and that and that. So I think that's what's happening right now with this initiative. Our one fan in the room just came in a little late, so it's okay. Yes, Tam.
Do you have a copy of the instrument itself, like the survey questions?
Yes, I do.
It's like that we can look at or not? Really?
Sure, yeah.
I was just curious about that. Oh, okay.
So,
Fast, okay.
so NASCAR favorable. So that's the attitude toward NASCAR and corporate reputation, and there's the identification. So it's the questions like the identification question is: would you willing to be? Is this important to become a fan of NASCAR? And then that actually showed a change. Perceived CSR made a change. So all these items actually responded well. Participants responded well to the question. Yes?
So what was the motivation to survey college students on campus?
That's the ultimate limitation of all researchers who study college students, but one, readily available, right? You're right here, so it was easy to get you guys to participate. I mean, and then when this is kind of backwards, but like I said, I wanted to compare fans versus non-fans and then see how they respond differently to the message. But after collecting the data, we saw that there was like 2% of the NASCAR fans out of 100. So I'm like, okay, let's go with non-fans and see how they respond. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, and I was gonna kind of expand on that a little bit. I was gonna say that, like, if you surveyed people from the community, you probably would have found more NASCAR fans.
Yes.
And also more people who are involved with agriculture who may have reacted differently to the advertisement about
right.
that. So.
But again, that will cost us a lot more money and a lot more time.
Yeah.
And we're always on the clock.
For sure.
So that's the, again, like I said, it's the limitation of the studies.
Yeah.
And
I was just wondering where college age, where that age demographic fits into the larger scale of like national NASCAR fans, because I mean, I guess that might kind of go off of his, and I understand that it is readily available and it goes into cost and non-fans versus fans, but do you think that the numbers would fluctuate more? Would they be higher, lower, if it were like on a national level, or where does it kind of fall in terms of their age? Okay,
one, I really cannot answer that question because, well, we can only see what we see, right? But that's, like I said, it would be nice to expand the study a little further and then see, parts of the nation and see, what kind of difference we would bring. Maybe we could, get some fans to respond to this. But again, it would be nice to do the broader study, but like I said, it's the limitation of what we have. It's the, we can go off of what we know.
Right, but her question is, are those participants representative of the demographics of NASCAR? Like, how far off is that from?
Oh, they're non-fans. So, like I said, we're surveying the non-fans. Yeah. We're not looking into fans and how they fit into the model. We're not looking at that. If you look at title, yeah, we're looking at potential stakeholders. I mean, they could be fans, become fans in the future, but now we're looking at people with no love for NASCAR. Yeah? Yes?
Was there any outside corporate entity that influence NASCAR to take this stance?
I don't believe so. It's inner initiative. NASCAR is owned by a family, really, and then they are working. But again, like I said, it's they've been put on a spot being not socially responsible or environmentally friendly. So I think they're fighting it back full on head with whatever they're doing. And I could have brought in a different set of clip where they actually promote NASCAR Green with their best driver, and then he talks about, okay, we do this, we do that, and I think like I said, I think they are in a spot where they're being asked to, hey, all these other entities are being friendly, but you are not. So how are you going to respond to that? And then this is their response to it. And then for some reason, this is taking an effect for the fans and the non-fans. So that's the interesting finding here.
So I bring that up because your last slide had the NFL with the salute.
Oh yeah, yes.
Salute to soldiers, salute to troops.
Yes, salute to service.
That's totally funded by the United States government.
Yes.
So that wasn't the NFL's good idea.
I passed it.
So I was just wondering, for an organization this large to move forward with something that they really cannot measure immediately the tangible, for them, profits. Whereas obviously the NFL didn't think about salute to soldiers. The United States government came to them, they went forward with it because it was totally paid for. Same thing with the NCAA, they did the same thing with the armed forces, all those ads that are on all day.
So your question is this, if it came from within or from outside influence, right, would that make a difference?
Yeah, okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, they're doing this because, as you said in the beginning, it's the social responsibility, it's good, it's the greater good.
So I think I can probably answer that with the greenwashing or CSR washing initiative. NFL kind of took a hit with the breast cancer awareness. Yeah. When they was discovered that all these gears that to sell with the pink ribbon on it, they're giving back 1% back to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And then when it was on the news, oh my God, they got hit. So again, when the intent, I mean, even if it was from outside influence, I don't think it would matter as much as long as they buy into the concept and then they really push forward. And then one of the successful guidelines for successful CSR is continuity and consistency. So if they do it once and they don't do it anymore because that profit got hit or something better came up, it's not going to be successful. So like the sun chip bags, right? Because their sales dropped, they're like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. Then it becomes greenwashing, and people recognize it, and they get hit, and then it's all in bad terms. Just like corporate social responsibility do fail.
Do you think that the Formula One racing's initiative, when back in the early 2000s, they put the brakes on developing engines that went faster and obviously had higher carbon unit usage? Do you think that had any influence on NASCAR? I mean, the fans are pretty different, but I just wondered if, as a corporation.
I mean, corporations learn from each other. And in social responsibility, especially, it's like I said, there's no firm definition on what it is. They just learn as they go. They make mistakes, and then they learn from others' mistakes, and they move on with it. So I'm sure. I mean, there was some influence from there. I mean, with the NASCAR, Formula One, they used to have brands from all over the place, like cigarette. Marlboro was the biggest sponsor of those. Now they just got rid of them, right? Because it's putting negative influence on people in a way. So again, they're learning from their mistakes and they're moving on from there.
sure this was the best example because cigarettes, advertising cigarettes is forbidden in most countries. So Formula One would probably still gladly accept money from Marlboro. It's the thing is that they cannot actually show Marlboro, but they cannot advertise.
Okay, but again, they're learning from each other. It's like there's no set in stone definition or rules and governance. There's nothing like that. I mean, based on what they do, what they produce, what kind of service they offer, or what time of the era you're in. Nike just introduced the equality campaign. It's more of a social initiative at the same. Although these shirts they're selling, they have no logos on them, no swoosh on them. It says equality from Nike. So again, it's the social initiative in a way. So again, learning from each other. Moving on from there. Yes.
I have a design wondering. You talk about fans and non-fans.
Yes.
I wonder if there might actually be two kinds of non-fans. The non-fans who are principled non-fans.
Okay.
And people who just don't know
about them.
And I wonder if your results would be different if you could identify within that group that sort of basic difference within that.
Yeah, we could certainly try that. We could just self-identify, which category you fall in, and then we could see the results from it.
You could also do it by indicators like, have you seen a NASCAR event before?
Yes. So we could do that. Certainly. I mean, that'd be very interesting.
Triangulate. You could have them self-identify, but also respond on exposure and experience.
Right. I mean, that'd be a very interesting topic. So if you're by principle, I'm not gonna, right?
You're
and then
see movement because and those might be the people who would have a more critical lens on when looking at their.
So efforts. It would be like this. So in the United States, they would like to expand within the nation. It'd be interesting to see that, right? So if you're like principally no. People, they will not respond to any of those.
Right.
But if you're going overseas, let's say you're going to China or you're going to Korea or Japan or India, then that approach might, if there was a difference, then it'd be have more managerial implications on that. That's a great point. Yes.
Do you think that these initiatives are targeted more toward attracting new fans or more just retaining the ones they already have?
I think it goes both ways. I think it's I mean, Amy kind of mentioned that because they take pride in their own sports, and then when they're being attacked, being a fan, hey, your sport doesn't care about the earth, and then future generations, and then now they have this kind of a defense mechanism. Hey, we do this and that, so hey, come at me again, right? But again, I think it goes both ways. So let's say, I mean, the results shows that non-fans actually take more interest in NASCAR after looking at green initiatives. So it would influence people with no experience.